Okay, now what we will do, we will try to understand the methods in the C++ language. In next class, C++. As I told you that C++ is a object-oriented programming language. Under this OOPS concepts, we are trying to understand what are the methods. In the previous section, I told you that how to create a class and object, and by the object, with the help of object, how to access the attributes of the class. Okay, object means its attributes means variables. So here we will try to understand how to create the method. Method is what? Method is just like a function. Okay, some code will be written that by calling of that method, that line of code will be executed. Method is one function of a class. Okay, so here theoretically, if you want to know that what is method, see class methods. C++ class methods are what? Methods are just like functions. Functions generally they will not be written on inside of the class. Okay, and here whenever we write functions inside of the class, they will be called methods. Okay, so methods just like functions, they belong to the class. There are two ways to define functions. In one is inside class and outside class. So let us try to understand, we will try to understand how to define a method inside of the class. So first of all, let me write the code here. So first of all, okay, so first of all, as I told you that you need to write that libraries include means import, that is what IOStream, this is the main library, header file library which will be used to work with input and output functions like to display on the screen. Okay, and input, to get the input from the user. So string, one more header file library I have imported. Include means imported, and this is common using namespace standard. That is very important because you want to use all that names for any variables and objects, methods. You need to use this standard library to use the names and names for your variables, objects, methods. Then after what, you need to create a class keyword, and then class name. Fruit is a class name, and then inside of these flower braces, okay, inside of these flower braces, and then end up once class is created, that is to be terminated with semi. That is very important. Inside of the class, what? Method. How to create the method? With void keyword and method name, any method name. Fruit has variables and same fruit has some functions. What is that function? Fruit has taste, as taste is what? Very sweet, so it is a function. Okay, so taste, so keep a name for any function, that is function. So function means method, it always has somewhat, this is very compulsory. Okay, and then what? Every function will be terminated and closed with inside of this. Okay, now what happened? This is a function taste function, it has parenthesis brackets. Now it is defined inside of the class, so now it is a method. So here method. Okay, method declaration inside of the class. Okay, now void compulsory, this is the keyword to declare method. Taste is method name. Now inside of this, I want to keep its name. Function defines taste means banana, fruit. Okay, that is very object I will create later. So now cout is insertion operator. Then so I need to call that method. Method is what? Taste. So object banana, I have not created, I will create later. Banana dot that method name taste. Okay, method always has this. Okay, now terminate with the semicolon. Now what happened? The method created inside of the class. Now you create what? Object. Object, how to create the object here? Object creation. I told you that object creation, how we need to create the object creation inside of a main class. Now write code here. Int main is a function always. Now inside of this flower braces, inside open close. Now inside of this, now come down, object creation. Now how the object? First class name fruit, then object name what? Banana. Okay, now fruit banana, close. Now what happened here? Object created. Understood that? So now inside of this main function, whenever we call this method, how we will call that method? Banana dot function name. What is? Taste. Okay, now the method is called inside of the function. So now see what happened here. Let us see whether this is okay. So here this much of errors we are getting. So it is underlining cout banana dot taste. Why it is underlining here? So that is one error. Banana was not declared. Banana was not declared in this scope. Okay, so now what here? That is what you need to mention the access level. That is very important. Public. Okay, then after what? Color. So this is the access level we have mentioned here. Or at the end of this function, okay, we need to write that statement return 0 is one more thing we need to mention here. Why? Because then after there is no any statements. This is the last statement, then after no any statement. Access level we have mentioned, and this is the method declared, and within this method one statement banana dot taste. This function. So now whenever you run this code, what happens? Try to see here, object created here. Now simply here is the error. What is this? Cout in 7th line. Here inside of this main function, this object is created for this fruit class, and here the function of this banana object. Okay, so this is a method. So here if you mention any whatever that some statement has written here, like what any string we have kept here, the banana is so tasty. Okay, this is a string here. So understood that? Now what happened? This statement written inside of this function, whenever you call that function with the name of that object, so that will be executed, that will be called. Now run this code. What happened here? See that statement that is to be printed on the screen. Okay, because what happened here? This is a string written inside of this method. Okay, now that method was called by creating of the object. Banana is an object of fruit class. Now this function called with the help of object name is banana, that is the object of fruit class. So what happened? Whenever we call the method is called. What is the method? Taste. The method, under this method always that is to be defined with the void keyword. Okay, understood that? That is very important. So this is the way how to create a method inside of the class. This is class defined inside of the class, not outside of the class. This is one way how to define this is the example for what? Define a method inside of the class. So that is very important here. What? That attributes, variables and any method, they can be called with the dot operator. That is all the variables means attributes means, I told you that all that attributes means class variables, and method they can